Hey guys, welcome back to another video. We are going to be doing another repot and chat Am I the A-hole discussion. I've done this once before. I will link it in the description if you haven't watched it yet. So if you have not seen that video, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of how this all goes down. So basically these stories are taken from Reddit. People post them as public comments in a forum, and people can vote whether they think they're the a-hole or not. And yeah, all of these are going to be plant related. I think I have maybe 13 Am I the A-hole posts to read to you today. So we're going to go through each one. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. I'll discuss it a little bit, and then I'll let you know if Reddit voted the poster an a-hole or not. In terms of a plant, usually, I'm sure some of you guys know when I do these repot and chats, I usually try and just show you the roster first so that I don't have to explain it as I'm going along and I don't have to interrupt the conversation that we're having, well, that I'm having. But to be honest, it's not super exciting today. I just got a mixture of plants that just need an upsized pot, plants that are kind of struggling a little bit, plants that need a pole. It's nothing too insane. Like, these are kind of just like stragglers that I've pulled. So I'm just gonna get set up here and we're just gonna jump right into it. So the first one I'm going to be doing today is my Carib Queen. I don't remember the last time I would have shown this, but this leaf is still like kind of hardening off a bit, but it's pretty much hardened off all the way. Accidentally bent the leaf while it was still brand new. Right now it's in tree fern fiber with a little bit of perlite, and I just want to get it into a tree fern fiber soil mix. So that is what I'm going to be doing. It's super dry and so thirsty, but I hate repotting things when the substrate's wet. And then I'm going to be repotting it into this vessel with drainage holes. Before I start unpotting this, I'm going to read you guys the first one. I might only get through 10 of them today because I really don't have a ton of plants to do, but we'll see. We'll kind of just like play it by ear. Okay, so the first one. Am I the a-hole for screaming at and banning my sister-in-law and niece from my home after they destroyed my houseplants? So this one is kind of a long post, so bear with me here. Years ago, I got really into houseplants and started to collect them. Over the years, I've had up to 70, but whittled my collection down to about 35, just the ones I really love. My niece, Jenny, who's a 14 female, has developed an interest in plants and will come over and we will talk about them, and she helps with propagation and repotting. I had to go out of town for 2 weeks to take care of some work stuff, so I asked my sister-in-law and Jenny if they could plant sit for me. I told Jenny I would pay, but also give her a few cuttings as a trade. They agreed, and when they came over, I gave them a tour and explained the care that they needed and also showed off a few prized plants. Sorry, I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I don't know why I'm getting so many texts right now. Okay. Sister-in-law asked how much a few of them ran me, and I did share. It didn't seem weird because the family knows and I've gotten some plants as gifts. Well, I returned from my trip and was horrified. They watered and gave the right amount of light, but they also decided to give a lot of my plants haircuts. Big ones. My prized Cebu Blue Pothos mother plant was destroyed, the climbing one too. My Mandula had been done the same. My golden that I trained up my stairwell, my string of pearls, string of hearts, and ruby necklace all destroyed. My silver striped philodendron as well. The worst was that my pink princess philodendron had been reduced to 2 leaves, and my albo monstera is down to 3. I don't even think they got nodes necessarily. These plants are expensive and prized. I basically broke down, and when they came to meet me to give back the key, I screamed and screamed at them. Jenny started crying, saying I would give her cuttings, so she thought it was okay. I screamed at her to go home and get what she stole from me and bring it back now because she knew I didn't mean she could destroy my plants. Sister-in-law got between us and said what's done is done. I said no way, you're returning everything. Jenny said Mom already sold most of them on Marketplace. I lost it and just screamed and screamed at them until Jenny was crying and her mom got in my face and told me I was having a tantrum over plants. I told her to get the F out of my house and don't ever come anywhere near me or my home again. I called my brother, my sister-in-law's husband, and he was shocked and said they told him I said it was okay. He brought me the stuff she hadn't sold yet and apologized. I told him I never ever want either of them in the same room as me again. They're horrible, awful, irredeemable people, and I hope they... Wow, I did not read that part. I hope they both burn in HE double hockey sticks where they belong. Sheesh. He told me he gets that I'm upset, but that I'm taking it too far and that family means not holding grudges. I told him to leave and I cried for the rest of the day. I'm posting because I need to know if my actions are over the top and if I'm overreacting. So am I the a-hole for telling them they're no longer welcome in my home and I don't even ever want to be in the same room with them again? I mean, my gut instinct when I read this is no, she's not the a-hole in this situation, but I do think the reaction was a bit extreme, just by my standards. I do have a temper, but I don't think no matter how mad I am at a situation or mad I am at someone, especially my in-laws, I don't think I could like ever have that kind of interaction with them, like tell them to go to hell and stuff. But I will say that what they did was absolutely wrong and a violation of property and trust and space and just a violation of everything. Like if that happened to me, I would be so upset, and like I don't think that I'd ever be able to trust them again ever. And I don't think it's wrong of her to like not want them to ever come around her or like her plants ever again, because yeah, it's just such like a violation of privacy and violation of your stuff. I think about like, you know, when you ask someone to come over and help care for your plants, you're basically telling them that you trust them with something that means a lot to you. You trust them in your space, that they're going to treat your plants in your home with respect and they're not going to steal from you and whatever. So I don't know if this really was like a matter of miscommunication, because Jenny, her niece, said like, oh, she thought it was okay because she said she was going to give her cuttings. But I don't really see how that could have translated to like, oh, it's just, yeah, like I'm gonna give you cuttings, but that means it's like a free-for-all when you come over. And I just think it's kind of a red flag that like, it's not like the cuttings just went to them, like the mom sold it right away. So it just seems really sort of, it just seems really like thought out, especially since the sister-in-law was like asking her about prices of certain plants and, you know, which ones were the most expensive. But to me, the situation is absolutely like horrifying. No matter if a plant is like from a big box store or if it's a super expensive imported plant that you have, I don't think that there is any excuse for what they did. I personally would, I think I would cry, especially if like someone beheaded like my elbow that I've been babying over the last few, like that last year or whatever, and I'll throw in a picture of it right now. Like if someone took this and like beheaded it and left me with like 2 leaves, I don't think I would cry necessarily from like sadness. I mean, yes, there's a part of me that would be sad that like, you know, my plant that I've been working so hard to grow has been destroyed essentially without my consent. But it's just, I think the anger would be the cause of my crying, you know? So I don't blame her. I really don't. I don't blame her for having the reaction she did. And I'm sure a lot of the things that she said, it just happened in the moment. It happened when it was fresh. I'm not sure if by the time she wrote that post, maybe she had like been able to sit with her thoughts a little bit and be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said all of that. But, you know, even if she doesn't regret it, that's her prerogative. Like, I just feel like she kind of had every right to act the way she did, because if it was anything, it doesn't even matter that it was just plants. Like, no matter how small it seems, it's still her property. Like, to me, it would be the same as if you just like walked into my house and took a bunch of furniture. The same thing. And I for sure would never, ever be able to trust them again. I wouldn't even want to share the hobby with them. I would probably never want to share cuttings with them. I would just like never look at them the same way, knowing that them making a couple bucks was worth all of that, you know? And yeah, it's just massive violation of trust. I'd be super bummed. So I don't think that, I don't think she's the a-hole in the situation, but I do think that the emotions maybe were a bit over the top, but that's coming from someone who has like an amazing relationship with my in-laws, and I just personally would never resort to the things that she said to them, because I don't know, I feel like there are some things that you can say out of anger that like you can never come back from, no matter like if someone's like, oh, I forgive you, or like let's just like let it blow over, like let's just forget it. You know, if someone says something like, I hope you like rot in hell, that kind of sticks with you. Like if someone had told me that, like a friend or a family member, I think even if I did like genuinely forgive them, it's like that saying, you know, I forgive, but I never forget. And I guess just coming from a place where I don't really ever want to say something that I'm going to regret forever, where I can't take it back. I think that, yeah, maybe that was a bit over the top. But again, I completely understand why she had the reaction she did. And who knows if I was ever put in that situation, and hopefully I never am. Who knows the things that would come out of this mouth. I'm actually gonna water this one right away just because of how effing thirsty it is. Like, I really cannot wait any longer to give this thing water. By the way, I took off the sprayer hose on my sprayer, like the nozzle tip, to make it spray, because like the water comes out so much faster when there's no sprayer. But when I'm spraying my poles, I put the tip back on. All right, so Carib Queen is finished, and now we move on to the next one. So the next one is my Begonia Lubersii. This one I acquired, well, me and Alice got it from Amanda, but mine died like twice, so this is a backup from Alice. So it's kind of funny, at one point like both of ours died at different times, but because one of us always had one, we were able to have a backup, so we just keep switching back and forth. So far so good with this one, but it's like in so little tree fern fiber that it dries out so fast. So I just want to get it out of here and into a bigger pot. Not that much bigger. I'm just gonna put it into this guy. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah, that first one was pretty bad, but I definitely don't think she was the a-hole in that situation. Oh, and Reddit voted her not the a-hole as well. Okay, number 2, am I the a-hole for throwing out my roommate's plant because I thought it was ruining my love life? I recently moved in with a new roommate, and he's a plant lover. He has a gigantic, exotic, potted plant in our living room. The thing is, this plant sits directly in front of our TV and obscures the view. I've asked him to move it several times, but he claims it's the only place with the right amount of sunlight and humidity. Now, here's where this mess gets messy. I've been seeing this amazing woman, let's call her Lana. Lana and I were having our first romantic night in, which involved a movie, wine, and plans for more. However, I just saw a fungus gnat. However, the plant was just so intrusive, it actually blocked her view of the screen. Lana joked about it, but I could tell it made her uncomfortable. The next day, still fueled by the embarrassment and frustration, I decided to move the plant myself. It was a heavy one, so I thought if I removed the plant from the pot, I could move the two separately. But as I attempted this, the plant broke into pieces. Panicked, I disposed of the evidence, thinking I could replace it later. When my roommate came home, he went ballistic. Apparently, the plant was not just rare, but it was a sentimental gift from an ex. If this fungus gnat flies into my mouth, we're gonna have a problem. It was a sentimental gift from an ex who is a botanist, and it was irreplaceable. He's now demanding I compensate him for this priceless plant. He hasn't talked to me for a couple days since Plantgate, and I don't know what to do next. I apologized and confessed to being plant illiterate, admitting to only knowing that plants are mostly green, with the not being green meaning sometimes flower. I even promised to educate myself further on the topic if it helped him even in the slightest. Not sure what else to do. How do you compensate for priceless? And to make matters worse, Lana found out and says she's appalled by my reckless behavior. She thinks I was trying to impress her and abruptly canceled our day plans. I assured her there would be no plants there to bother her, and I thought this was funny. Currently, this remains the last message in our correspondence. Anyway, did you know that 85% of all plant life lives in the ocean? Fascinating. Also, am I the a-hole for throwing away my roommate's obstructive plant baggage? You just hear it all on the internet. Nothing really should surprise you anymore. I have a few thoughts on it before I can say who's the a-hole or whatever. First off, I think some of you guys might know this about me, but I'm just like super, I'm really careful, I guess, about where I place my plants. Not just for like the sake of my husband who lives with me, because I still want this place to feel livable, which is why I don't have plants just like scattered all over the place. I really do try and keep them to the walls and not get in the way of walking or moving things or watching TV. So I used to have my yucca right next to my TV, but as it's grown, it started to cover the TV. So I moved it because I'm not, it's not fair to my husband who watches that TV every day to have to like half the screen, not half, but a good chunk of the corner of the screen is being blocked by this tree. So he didn't even say anything. I'm the one that noticed it and was like, oh, I should probably move this. So I moved it. And I just feel like it's like common courtesy to whoever you're living with that your things should not get in the way of like their daily activities. Especially if they're paying rent, like they have every right to the space as you do. And I get that, and I'm actually so curious, like I want to know what this like big exotic plant was that he got from a botanist. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I just feel like, yes, the plant, I don't doubt that the plant was very important to this person. And like, I'm sure we all understand like there's like an optimal place for a plant next to a window. But I personally think if it was obstructing the view of the TV that much, like get a grow light, dude. Like it does at that point. If you're not gonna move the TV, if the TV really can't move anywhere else, like I feel like the plant should have been moved. And I think if you didn't have a roommate and you were fine with the TV being blocked, then that's on you. Like you live however you want to live. But I don't think the roommate should have been subjected to just living with it because this plant needed to live in that corner. Like, I don't know, to me it's just ridiculous. If that was me and my roommate told me like, no, I'm not gonna move this because it has to be right here because of light and humidity or whatever, I'd be like, well, that's too bad. Like unless we are moving the TV, like you're gonna have to move the plant because I'm paying, my share to be living here and to be using this TV and be using the common spaces. And it's just common courtesy to just be like a good roommate. So in that respect, I feel like the roommate was kind of an a-hole for not compromising and not realizing that there are like alternate solutions to the problem of the light and humidity. There are so many people in the plant hobby who literally live in like windowless basements but just have like a apartment full of plants because grow lights. Like, come on, we're not living in the Stone Ages. Like, there are solutions. So I think in that aspect of things, the roommate was the a-hole. But I will say, the person who posted this, taking the initiative without the roommate's consent or just talking to him about it, like trying to move it and like assuming like, oh, I'm just gonna pluck it out of here so it's lighter and it's easier for me to move. That was careless, reckless, stupid, especially since you knew like, well, maybe at that point he didn't know how important it was to him. Like, I think he found out that it was from his ex-girlfriend after the fact, but still, that shouldn't matter. Like, he honestly shouldn't have touched it in the first place without talking to him. But I don't really see how they would have come to a solution. It kind of seems like they were at a standstill like the roommate was just adamant that the plant wasn't moving. So I'm not sure what the solution could have looked like, but I don't feel like he should have touched the plant, especially since he knows nothing about plants. If you don't know anything about plants, I feel like you surely don't know how to handle them correctly, especially moving such a large one across the room or whatever. So in that aspect of things, I think he was the a-hole. And so I don't know, it, like, regardless of the situation with Lana and it ruining his dating life or whatever, like, I think that they both had their moments of being a-holes to contribute to this whole situation. So I personally, I don't feel comfortable voting one person the a-hole and not the other. I feel like they both were a-holes. But if you ask me, I think the roommate that he's talking about with the plant is more of the a-hole. But I don't know, you guys might not agree. But that's just how I feel about the situation, because I don't know, I think it's just crazy to be like, well, my plant is more important than your needs, even though you pay rent here and you live here too. I just think that's just bad roommate etiquette. But Reddit voted him the a-hole. Begonia is done. The root system wasn't huge, but you know, it's healthy, it's growing. I didn't see any root breakage, so it just had a small root system, and now it's got plenty of space in here to grow, and I think I'll be able to retain the moisture in here a lot longer, because seriously, I was watering this thing 2 days a week. It used to have a lot more leaves, but because I kept letting it dry out, a lot of them dropped like hotcakes. All right, the next one I'm gonna do, where am I putting this one? I thought I had, oh, here. The next one I'm gonna do is my Zara Michelle, and it's funny because I actually just repotted this in a video, I think this month. It was in an even tinier cup than this, so I moved it to this 2-inch parfait cup, and I'm not seeing a whole bunch of roots on here, but now that this leaf has come out, and it's actually so beautiful, it has that classic Zara Michelle look with like the red venation and the dark leaf with the silver. It's beautiful. I think it's ready to go into something even a little bit bigger with drainage holes. So hopefully I'm not being too quick or too eager to move it, since I literally just repotted this, but something is just saying she's ready. And let's hope I'm right, because this is gonna be a beautiful plant, and I can see some really, really nice new roots in here, so I'm happy about that. I'm not gonna touch it too much. Also, people have been asking me how I'm liking the new potting method. I'm gonna call it the Jessie potting method, where you just pot way bigger, not way, where you pot like 2 or 3 sizes larger than you normally would in terms of pot size. And I will say I'm really liking it. I'm seeing a lot of new growth on my anthurium, and the leaves are so much bigger than they would have been than if I just kind of kept with my original style of potting up, I guess. But I'm doing an anthurium collection video and a Q&A soon, and so I will include all of that in there. I don't want to talk about it too much. But anywho, I'm gonna add leca down at the bottom just because the root system is not huge, and I plan to just put this in a little sort of like tray and then leave water in there. So I'm just doing about this much leca. Okay, so let's move on to the third one. I'm plowing through these because I felt like I kind of, in the first one, I lingered on them too long, and I just kind of want to say how I feel, tell you how Reddit felt, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Okay, so story number 3. Am I the a-hole for sabotaging my girlfriend's plants? Male 25 and female 23, my girlfriend and I just moved in together at the beginning of this month. She is the girl of my dreams, and I want to spend the rest of my life with her. The problem is her plants. I knew that she loved plants, and I have grown to love them too. When we started dating, she had about 3 plants, and we together had 7 total. This to me is a perfect amount of plants and gives us something to do together. Ever since we moved in, it has spiraled out of control. She is constantly buying new tables, hangers, stands, pots, etc. to give them more space. She says that because she has all this space, she needs more plants. She's on TikTok looking at different plants with a sparkle in her eye, and she doesn't get with me. What? What? She's on TikTok looking at different plants with a sparkle in her eye that she doesn't get with me. Jealous much? She now is using Reddit solely for plants and plant maintenance, so I know she won't see this. We are constantly buying more and more plants, and I think we have about 20 now. We have been living together for 20 days. I brought this up to her and she immediately went on the defense. Why do you not like them? We have the space, why not get more? And I'm just thinking, at what point does this madness stop? She is spending more time with her plants than she is with me, and I want her to have hobbies, but they need to be in moderation. We do not have much spending money, and I have brought this up to her. She doesn't seem to care and is still wanting to buy more plants. I've gotten to the point where I'm now deliberately not watering the plants when she asks me to, hoping that they will slowly die and she thinks she is not a good plant caretaker. I do feel bad doing this, but I feel like I have no choice. Am I the a-hole? Yes, sir, you are. Yes, sir, you surely are the a-hole in this situation, no doubt about it, 100%. What type of... Okay, I have thoughts. So, you, sir, strike me as the type of person, the type of man, specifically, that feels like he has the right to tell his partner how to enjoy her own hobby, how to enjoy her own life. And just because she only had 4 plants when she started dating you or whatever, when you first moved in, and has 20 now, it's really none of your business. The way she enjoys her hobby, that's up to her. You don't get to dictate what is healthy for her. You don't get to dictate her doing things in moderation. No, I can't get on board with it. I'm sorry. To me, it just screams that you are an attention-hungry partner that clearly doesn't really care about her, because if you did, you wouldn't be purposely trying to kill her plants. And not only purposely trying to kill her plants, but doing so that she feels like she's not good at taking care of plants. To me, that is absolute manipulation. It's emotional manipulation, mental manipulation, and I just, sorry, but you give me the ick. You give me the absolute ick. No, don't like it. I don't like it. I will say that in this situation, the money thing is the only thing that I would comment on her end to be like, I think maybe we need to like tread a little lightly with the buying, because I've talked about this before, how this hobby can turn really ugly fast for people who don't sort of collect within their means. I've never luckily gotten myself to a place where like I was so deep in the hole, like I couldn't get myself out. I didn't rack up credit card debt. I never was not able to pay a bill because I didn't have money because I spent it on plants. It was never like that. There was never like a hole that I had to take myself out of, luckily. But looking back at how much I spent, there's so much more that I could have done with that money that I didn't. I could have gone on more vacations. I could have spent more time with my family members in California when I had the chance. There are certain things for this house that I would have liked to have, like a nicer couch that I probably could have afforded had I not spent it on plants. So I think it is a really slippery slope with plants and the finance aspect of it, but I don't think that that's anybody's place to dictate like what is healthy for someone versus not. Like I feel like that person has to be the one to make that call. I've been in the position where I have tried to help a friend who was struggling a lot financially because she got really deep in with plants. And at the end of the day, my efforts were kind of just like, kind of shat on, really. And so I had to distance myself from that situation. And that made me realize, like, when it comes to the financial burdens of plants and just the temptation, I guess, to hoard plants, like you can do with anything that you're collecting, not just plants, that person has to be the one to realize that there's a problem. If everyone else is just telling it to you, like it just doesn't really stick you know? And as much as maybe you have good intentions, unfortunately for a lot of things, it just has to be that person to come to that realization. And so, I don't know, I just feel like as her partner, it's just icky that one, you're dictating what is healthy for her. Two, you're the one deciding, like, you're the best one who knows what moderation looks like. And you want her to be doing plants in moderation because you want her to give you more attention. And to me, it's just selfish. Like, I do think that there has to be a healthy boundary between your hobbies and the people you love. Maybe the time I spend with plants is a bit excessive because not only am I caring for all these plants, but now I work within the plant space. But my lifestyle with my husband, it just works. And we do set aside time to spend with each other, and he understands that, like, this makes me happy, and he supports me and he loves it for me. And I just feel like that's how it's supposed to be. I think as long as the collection is not intruding on the space or making it unlivable for your partner, I don't really see why it should be a problem. Like, I just feel like you should be happy for your partner that they found something that they're passionate about and that they love. So I don't know, I'm just icked out by the situation. I just feel like she's being manipulated, she's being controlled, and it's just not a healthy situation. It's just not a healthy environment. And my lights just turned off. That's good. I mean, I've never been in a relationship with a narcissist, I don't think. Okay, there's maybe one ex that I can think of, or maybe he was borderline narcissist, but luckily I've never been in that situation before. But it just strikes me as a very unhealthy situation. I just feel like if he is wanting to control her that much in that aspect of her life, like, what happens when they get married and they have kids, and like, how much more is he gonna expect from her to sacrifice or to give to him? Like, it just screams yucky. Like, it just seems like a very yucky situation to me, and I don't like it. So to me, it's gonna be a hard no from me, buddy, in terms of trying to support you, because I think you absolutely were the a-hole in this situation, no matter how you cut it. All right, the next one I'm gonna do is this pesky little guy. So I used to think that this was a rhipsalis pentaptera, and the more that I've owned it, the more I'm convinced, like 99.9 convinced it's not, because the pentaptera should be a little bit thicker and larger, and it should very, very clearly have 5 sides, hence pent. But this just, the more it grows, I'm like, that's not what you are. Also, it has like all this weird coppery rust things, which I don't really know what they are. Some of them had it already when I bought the plant, but it's gotten so much worse. So I don't know if I need to like spray this thing with some kind of like fungicide or something. But anyway, it's dropping so many little leaves or whatever these are called. And I just don't think it's loving it in pond. But also this vessel is so dirty that could be contributing to it as well, because it's been in here for so long. Sorry, going back to the ID, someone actually commented on one of my videos and was like, I actually think that your pentaptera looks more like a Rhipsalis micrantha SSP Kerbergii. And if you look at the photos, it looks pretty spot on. It almost resembles the Rhipsalis trigona. Okay, it's almost like it has features of the Rhipsalis trigona and the Rhipsalis paradoxa minor, almost. So I think if I can be a little bit more confident in an ID, I do think it's what that person said, and it's this Rhipsalis micrantha SSP Kerbergii. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But anyway, that's what I'm gonna label it as. If anyone has any disputes or better suggestions, please feel free to chime in. What I've kind of learned over the last year in doing more research on Rhipsalis is that even like the most knowledgeable people in the Rhipsalis world will like argue about IDs, and it's just so, some of them are just so similar that it's hard to tell them apart. So the IDs are always kind of like up in the air. But I do try and be as accurate as possible. And when I am corrected or if I find new information, I try to tell it to you guys as soon as possible. I am gonna get it into the same vessel size because I don't necessarily think it needs to be upsized. It just needs something because this does not strike me as a happy plant, and for some reason my spidey senses are just saying it's not enjoying pon. Again, it could be the algae, but who knows? I think there's just some plants out there that just prefer organic medium, and you know what? When they're trying to send you a sign, you listen. Now I'm getting that urge again to smell it. I don't know why. Oh, it doesn't smell. That's weird. Sometimes it's like the nastiest, yuckiest algae-ridden vessels are the ones that have no smell at all, but then the ones that look so clean are just like so nasty. But like if you look at the algae, it's literally just on the outside layer, but not on the inside. And if you look at all of the pon that just fell off, there's no algae. And I've talked about this in my no drainage video because there's like a misconception that when you see algae in the vessel that it's just taken over everything, and that's just not true. It's just the stuff that's exposed to the light. We're gonna go into the next story. Oh, so yeah, I said this person was the a-hole, and Reddit just like, there was like nobody in support of this person. I think, I don't know. I didn't mean to sound so harsh, but I don't know, for some reason that just like really like got my blood going, my blood pressure going. I didn't like that. That was icky to me. The next one is, am I the a-hole for being pissed at my flatmate for taking plant cuttings without asking? This girl recently moved into our flat. Within 1 month of her moving in, I had noticed that some of my plants looked like someone had taken a cutting. It was only 1 or 2 plants, but I didn't think anything of it. A week later, I noticed someone had taken a cutting from my pothos. This one only had 4 leaves, so now I have 3 left. The new baby leaf had been taken. I decided to ask everyone in the house about it. The new girl admitted to it. I told her it's okay, but to ask next time. Fast forward 3 weeks and more cuttings are missing. It's becoming quite noticeable even on my mature plants that are quite full. I knew it was her doing, but I had never actually seen what she is doing with them. Today I had to return her lighter to her after I used it. She wasn't home, so I put it in her room and saw in the corner there were 15 pots with the cuttings from all different houseplants, along with 6 bottles full of water with more cuttings in them. Am I the a-hole for being angry about this? I think I should confront her, but my partner thinks I should just let it go. I did spend a lot of time and money on these, especially the variegated ones, which I noticed she did take cuttings of. Am I the a-hole? Did you just not think your roommate was ever gonna see all the plants in your bedroom? That is wild to me. The first thought I have is I just think it's hilarious how some people don't realize how observant we can be with our plants. It's like you can have the biggest, most bushiest pot of something, but it's like we'll know if something has been chopped. And it's funny because if you're not really a plant person, you would think like, how are they ever gonna notice? Like, I'm just gonna chop it off. Like, there's so many other leaves. But it's like, obviously, like, we know how plants work. We know how our plants look like. And it's just so funny how like they think that they could just pull one on us like that. Again, going back to the first story, don't think that this person's the a-hole. Not even in the slightest. Like, I mean, dude, that stealing is stealing, right? Like, let's just not steal. First of all, it doesn't matter if it's like the food in the fridge or products from the bathroom. Like, the plants are still someone else's property. It doesn't matter if it grows back. That's not the point. It just goes back to just a violation of property, violation of trust, and like, it just feels like icky. Like, yeah, just someone is clearly doesn't respect you enough to like leave your property alone and just doesn't even have the decency to ask permission to have cuttings of a plant. I don't know, it's so easy to just be like, oh, can I just have a cutting of this, you know? Even if the answer is no, it's like, then what? It's not like anything bad happens to you, it's just no. Like, really, the worst that they can say is no. And that's the end of that, and you know how they feel about it, and you can just go to the store and get your own plants. So I don't know if it comes down to like, maybe someone is just like stingy and just doesn't want to spend the money on the plant, or they just feel like, well, because I know there are people like this with these personalities of like, sorry, I keep scratching my nose because I have eczema on my nose in the winter. I don't know if it's, you know, people have a personality of just like, well, if I can get away with it, why not? I do feel like there is a good portion of people who are like, well, if I don't have to spend my own money, why should I? And so they almost feel entitled to take it. And I think especially something like a plant where they know it grows back. But that's just, it's just icky. Honestly, like, if a family member or a friend really wanted a cutting of a plant that I have, there is like almost nothing in my collection that I have that I'd say no. Like, honestly, if it can be chopped, maybe not even at that point, but like later once it's a little bit bigger, I'll absolutely chop it. To me, the friendships and the relationships are more important, and I do feel like such a big part of the joy of this hobby is being able to share it with other people, which is why when my mom is here, it's like free reign. Like, take whatever the hell you want. I don't care what it is. Plants can be replaced, but like, I just want my mom to be happy, you know? And to me, it's like the least I could do for her. But I get that it's a bit different with a roommate, especially if you're not like super close. You probably wouldn't feel that same, not obligation, but that same just inherent feeling of feeling like it's the good thing to do, or like it makes you feel good to do it, you know? Nobody is entitled to anyone's plants like that. If you have every right to say no to chopping a plant, that's your plant. Nobody can tell you what to do with it. But, you know, if you can share, to me, it's like, why not? And I'm sure the roommate would have been more than happy to share these plants with, you know, with his roommate, had she just asked politely. But like, resorting to stealing, I don't know, to me, it's like, if she steals cuttings of a plant, like, what more would she steal? You know, like, if I accidentally left money out, would she take that? Or if I bought a bunch of like fruits, like, would she just like take one because she thinks like, oh, I'm not gonna know what's missing? And personally, I wouldn't want to live with someone like that. But I personally, I don't think that, you know, the poster of this is the a-hole at all. And I don't agree with, I think their partner said to like not confront her. I 100% would confront her, because she's just stealing at this point, and it's like so disrespectful. And it's, yeah, to me, like, if you're gonna steal plants, what else would you steal? I really would not want to live with her. So just don't take cuttings of people's plants, people. Is it that hard? Jeez Louise. Guys, these little sticks are dropping like hot tamales. What did I say earlier? Hot potatoes? Hot tamales. I don't know what the proper saying is. But yeah, I almost got rid of this plant because the coppery brown stuff was really like giving me the ick, and I'm like, it just looks so sickly. But there's been so much new growth on it that I'm like, okay, maybe I can overlook it. And like, once it's grown out more, I'll like get over it. But right now, I just have this on a bottom shelf because I really just don't want to look at it. And I'm just sort of waiting for the glow up. But sort of off topic, I feel like 2024, and I wrote this on my Instagram story, I feel like 2024 for me, my plant goals are going to be to grow my trailing plants that I do have longer and bushier, and to collect more trailing plants. I feel like I have it in my space to add like one more shelf somewhere that I could accommodate for more trailing plants, because I would just love to grow my trailing plant collection. Like, get more rhipsalis and, you know, other like weirdo variety of plants. I don't know. That's just my gut feeling and my thoughts right now in terms of where I see myself in the plant space next year. I think I definitely want to cool it on the anthurium. My friends have been bringing in so many cool anthurium lately where it's like it's kind of hard to resist the temptation. And don't get me wrong, there are still lots of anthurium on my wish list. Not so much philodendron anymore. I don't really have any more philodendron on my wish list. I just want the ones that I have to grow a lot bigger. But yeah, there are quite a few anthurium on my wish list still. So if I did have the opportunity to acquire those, I certainly wouldn't say no. But in terms of where I want to spend my money and my efforts and energy, I'm hoping that it's with trailing plants. And I do hope to go to California twice next year. I think I'm gonna go there maybe around March and then again for Christmas. So hopefully I can send some cool trailing plants to my mom, because a lot of them, I don't know if I'll be able to get them in Canada or import them into Canada. But anywho, random thoughts. This one's potted. I just want to show you, look at the tips, like the new growth. It doesn't have any of that coppery brown stuff. It's really just the original growth, but it's just so yucky. I hate looking at it. I honestly, like looking at my roster now, I think I can break this up into a two-parter maybe, or I'll just do another one in December or January, because I don't think I'm gonna get through all 13 today, because there's really no other plant that I could repot at the moment. I have a few that need to be repotted, but they all have like emergent leaves and stuff like that, and I just really don't want to mess with it. So, oh, what am I doing? Okay, I don't think I'm gonna be able to water and read this at the same time. The water is gonna get everywhere. And I've been inoculating these with TPS billions, by the way. So I say the roommate is the a-hole in that last one, and Reddit also voted that the poster was not the a-hole. Next one, am I the a-hole for stealing back my office plants? Hey Reddit, first time poster here. If you knew me personally, you would know that I am an avid plant person. I love taking care of plants, and I tend to spend a ridiculous amount of money buying rare plants. Plants are my hobby, and everyone in my office has dubbed me the office plant lady. My boss asked if I would help cover another office that was short-staffed. I agreed, since I would only be out of my office for a week. I watered all my plants before leaving and didn't give them another thought. When I got back from helping the other office, I noticed that all of my plants had been dispersed around the office, not just near the window where I had them previously. My coworker had moved my plants from my station to her station, and my manager had claimed my larger and very rare plant for her office. I was peeved because I was gone for a week, and it's as if my plants were up for dibs. So I wordlessly moved my plants back in front of my station and moved my rare plant from my manager's office to where I had it before. Even if I had humored my manager and let the plant stay there, it would not have lasted long because my manager's office has no natural lighting, and I paid too much for the plant to watch it slowly die from a lack of sun. My coworkers made some comments about me taking back my plants, but I just casually shrugged and said, sorry, these are my babies. I like to look at them where they are. I paid for all my plants myself, but I can't help but feel a little bit guilty for taking them back. Am I the a-hole? I personally would also be very peeved if my coworkers just like randomly grabbed my plants out of my space and put it in their office. I don't know, it's just weird. I don't get what goes through someone's mind that they think, and not even just one person, but two of them in the office thought like, oh, you know, she's gone for a week. Like, do they think she just like wouldn't notice, or she just wouldn't care that they just like took her plants for their office? I just don't get the logic. I don't get it at all. This one's a pretty simple one. I personally just feel like it's weird. I think it's weird that the coworkers were just like, let's just take it and see what happens, when it's clearly like it's not theirs. It's not theirs to take, so why even? The next one that I'm gonna do is this Philodendron SP Napo Purple. I don't know when the last time I would have shown this plant was. I think the last time you would have seen it, it only had the two original leaves, which was this one and this one. but it's pushed out 2 decent sized leaves since then. It's a pretty interesting plant, kind of reminiscent of the Atabapoense, a little bit like a billy, no, not really like a billy, like an Atabapoense Mexicanum sort of vibe we're getting here, especially with the abaxials. I just have it in leca right now, but honestly, I don't have the nutrients to support a plant in leca, so I'm gonna do pon. Yeah, I'll do pon for this. And honestly, I should get it on a pole. I don't really want to. I don't really want to. I don't know why. I kind of want to see if this thing will size up without a pole. That's stupid. Probably, but I'm just gonna go for it. This one is sitting in an exo, so I'm not gonna bother to give it a glass vessel. I'm just gonna be putting it in this bigger plastic pot, and I'm gonna do a bit of leca down at the bottom so that I don't have to use so much pon. Going back to the story, no, I don't think that this person is the a-hole at all. I feel like she handled it really well. I don't know. I'm not good with confrontation in person, so I don't know if I would have said something to my coworkers, like kind of demanding a reason why they thought it was okay. I mean, truly, just out of curiosity, I just want to know what the thought process is. Honestly, if you can think of any reason why someone would think that's okay, I'm not even gonna argue with you. Honestly, I just want to like humor me. Like, I just want to know, like, what could a thought be that's logical that would justify that kind of action? I just think it's weird. Like, you don't go into anyone's space and be like, yeah, I like this, I'm gonna take it. Adults don't do that. Kids do that, not adults. It kind of reminds me of a situation I had with a roommate once where he would eat my leftovers, like, not right away, but let's say that, like, I had ordered or I had gotten takeout, put the leftovers in the fridge, and then, like, maybe had the leftovers again the night after. If it would sit in there for more than like another day or two, he would think that it's free game to just take it. Because he's like, oh, well, it's been sitting here for X amount of days. Like, oh, I noticed that it was sitting here for an X amount of days, so I figured it was okay. Like, I figured you didn't want it. But, like, why make that assumption? Especially since before, because he's just, you know, this was like, he was like such a frat guy, kind of, not to make an assumption, but like, he was the type that was just like, oh yeah, whatever, like, wake up and have a beer. And he was just that kind of guy, you know? And so, yeah, there were plenty of times where, like, I'd bring home food from the restaurant I worked at, and I'm like, I'm never gonna eat this, just have it. So I don't know if that gave him, like, the wrong idea that, like, my food was free game for him too. I don't know what it was, but in his mind, he just thought it was totally okay to just eat my leftovers. And I finally had to tell him, like, look, I have no problem with you eating leftovers that I don't want anymore, because obviously I'm not gonna, like, let it go to waste. I'm not petty like that. But can we not like eat it without, like, discussing it with me first? I don't know if it's like the same concept where, like, she was gone and they figure, oh, it's probably best that it's with someone than no one. But it's like they knew she was coming back. Like, especially the manager. Like, the manager's the one that asked her to, like, go work at that other office. So, or I don't know if they were like, oh, maybe if she didn't take the plants to the other office, it meant she just didn't want them. But again, that's like, it's such a reach. So I don't know. I do, like, in every situation, I try and, like, put myself in the other person's shoes and, like, see where they're coming from. And I feel like I've been conditioned to do that, especially with being on YouTube. Like, I just get some of the wildest comments. This weekend, I got some wild comments, you guys. I don't wanna talk about it here because, I don't know, I feel like some people are so tired of me talking about my wild comment section, but Like, I'll go long periods without any mean comments coming in, and then they just flood in all at the same time from different people. It's so weird. So anyway, I don't really know what was going through those coworkers' head to think like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna take it, but I wouldn't have been cool with it. I probably would have done the same thing as her and just kind of silently take it back when they weren't looking and wait for them to approach me. But like, I think what I might have done on top of that is just be like, I was just curious, like, why did you think it was up for grabs? I don't know. I think the curiosity would get me. It would just get me. Okay, roots look great. Just gonna plunk it into here. And I might regret not getting this onto a pole right away, but I don't want to have to stick a pole in that tiny exo. And maybe let's just do this as an experiment. We're gonna see if it'll grow without a pole. I mean, I think eventually I can do a stick. I mean, I could probably do a stick now, but screw it. I vote not the a-hole. Reddit also voted not the a-hole. Story number 6. Am I the a-hole for asking to keep my ex's houseplants? Oh, this is a good one. My ex and I broke up a couple months ago, but still live together. The breakup was amicable, and we are still friends and work well as roommates. When we were together, we lived in rooms connected by a shared bathroom with a lot of natural light. I got very into houseplants as a hobby throughout the years we were dating, so we bought a lot of plants together. We kept them in the shared bathroom, and I always took care of them. She really liked having plants around. I think they help with her mental health, but seems to kill any plant she touches. I really have no idea how, but I don't think she has ever been able to keep a plant alive in her life. When we broke up, she switched rooms with our other roommate so that we could have more space. Now we no longer share the bathroom with the plants. She asked if she could take half of them we bought together and have them in her room. I was admittedly reluctant, but because she paid as much as me, I agreed. But now it's been a couple months and they're all almost dead. Throughout the last month, every time I get a glimpse of them in her room, I tell her she's killing them. She says they're fine and will bounce back and that she's taking care of them. She has asked me for advice and I've told her my care routines for them. I know she is really trying her best to keep them alive, but it's so painful to watch my beautiful baby plants shrivel up and die. I asked her to let me have them back so I can try to save them, and she said she wants to save them. She told me to drop it as she doesn't tell me how to take care of my stuff, and I'm not sure if she's insecure and doesn't want to admit they're dying, or is just stubborn, or is delusional, but they're for sure gonna die if I don't take them. Would I be the a-hole if I keep insisting on taking them back? I understand she paid, but the money is wasted anyways if they all die. Our living room is a literal basement with no natural light, so keeping them there is not an option. Also, none of the plants she took are rare or expensive, so technically I could buy replacements, but I'm emotionally attached, you know? Am I the a-hole? Well, I don't think I'd be able to live in the same house as my ex if I broke up, but you know, power to you guys if you can make it work. My initial thought is if you guys both paid for them fair and share, if you paid equal amounts for them, and now that you've broken up, you get half, she gets half, I think it's a bit unfair to then go back and be like, well, I feel like you should only take them if you can keep them alive. Like, you're basically doing it with conditions, and I just don't feel like that's fair. I think that once you've relinquished ownership of them or shared ownership and they're now considered her plants, I feel like you just have to let it go. Obviously, none of us like to see a plant dying, especially if you're like hardcore into plants or whatever. But I just don't think it's your place anymore to like dictate what happens with that plant. I don't think it's your place anymore to be like, well, I can take care of it better, so you should just give it back to me. If she, no matter what the reason is, you know, you said, is she delusional? Is she just stubborn or what? It doesn't really matter, in my opinion, what the excuse is, or not excuse, what the reason is. The like bottom line is they're her plants now, and whether they live or die, that shouldn't really be any of your concern anymore because they're not yours. And I feel like that's where that's where the confusion lays, especially since he worded it as like, it's so painful to watch my baby plants die. Are they your plants though? Are they? So like, I get the intention, you know, good intentions, but like, just, you gotta let it go. You know, you gotta pick your battles. I say just focus on the plants you do have. Don't worry about her and just leave it. And I'm not saying this person's an a-hole. I don't think that he's an a-hole at all. I think it's just a little bit of like an attachment thing that he has to let go. But I think like his intentions and his heart is obviously in the right place. He just wants to see the plants do well. But to me, this strikes me as, and I always go back to my comment section, it goes back to kind of the same people in my comment section that have so much to say when I give away plants or chop plants or chop healthy leaves off. It's like they get so personally hurt and affected by it, and it just confuses me, because it's like, if it's not your plant, why does it affect you so much? Like what I do with my plant, it's honestly, it's very, very, very odd to me. Like I don't understand it. I could understand if maybe it was like at like a beautiful botanic garden or something, and someone just like hacked a leaf off with no meat or like no reason, or just like cut down this beautiful plant that was thriving for no good reason. I personally would be like, wait, what are we doing? Let's think about this for a little bit. But me wanting to like downsize my collection or just like chop leaves off because they're getting too big, like that's my business. It's nobody's business but my own. They're my plants, my property. I paid for them, and it just really shouldn't concern you. And I just think that there are, I'm not saying they're bad people, but there are just people out there that, what's the word? It's like they personify plants in the same category where they see plants like people, like actual living, breathing human souls. Like, and to me, it's a little weird. Like, I get plants are alive, you know, they're very much alive, but let's not pretend that like plants should be treated, or houseplants, ornamental, hobbyist houseplants should be treated the same as a human life. Like that is, to me, that is just insane. And so I feel like there are just people out there that take it a little bit too far. They take it a little bit too seriously, and they almost feel entitled to say something about someone else's collection because of that like fire in them that they feel that. And I always have the same response to all of them, is like, my plants, my problem, my decision, and just don't tell me what to do. Like, they're my plants, don't tell me what to do. That's just the bottom line. I don't care if your intentions are good, the way you're coming off is not good, and it's just, yeah, it's coming off as like entitled and pushy and just weird. So I get the same vibes with this guy. It's like, I don't think he's a bad person, but he strikes me as the kind of person that would be in my comment section putting the same value of a plant as like a human life. That's all I can say. I've talked about this with my friends, talked about this with my family, and you know, it's just crazy to me. Because Alice has gotten, like, Alice doesn't get very many mean comments. I'm very happy for her. I hope it stays that way. She doesn't get very mean comments, but like the one she did get recently was on her like purge video, where she was like downsizing her collection. She was chopping down plants that were too big, and there were like a few people that were just like, oh, I couldn't even watch this, or like, oh, what a shame, like you shouldn't have cut it, like what are you thinking? And it's just like, dude, come on. Of all the things you're wanting to fight in this world, that's the battle you're choosing? Very, very odd. Oh, here, she's done. Sorry, I'm blabbing so much. She's done. She's in a much bigger pot. She's in pon. I hope she takes to pon well. We might regret not putting a pole on it right away, considering it's got like this juicy aerial root, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling it for this plant, you know? Okay, since I have pon out here, I'm going to, actually, this pon is looking kind of pathetic. I have a second bin of pon that I will take out. This is my mixture of pon that has orchiata in it. I don't really know which I prefer most, with or without orchiata, but we're just gonna use it. So the next plant that I'm gonna be repotting is this Hoya mint coin. God, hopefully I'm remembering that ID. Hoya mint coin. This is such a lovely Hoya. It's just so pretty. Like, I just can't stand it. It's just so pretty. It's in a really, really tiny pot and it dries out so fast, the poor thing. But you know, one thing that I just love about Hoyas are that they're so forgiving in terms of watering, and they don't dry rot as fast as something like a philodendron or an anthurium. Like, you know, like if you let one of those, like an aroid, go dry and you think, oh, it's fine, like I'll just douse it with water. By the time that time comes, they've already like shriveled up to a crisp, and then you water it and then those shriveled up roots become rotty. Yeah, with Hoyas, like, I don't know, these roots just can withstand a dry period for so long. It's incredible. So anywho, I want to get it into this pot here, and I'm hoping to see some more growth on this thing, because I would love if this got even more like bushy and trailing. I just think it would be so pretty. Okay, anywho, enough about that. I vote this person is the a-hole. Again, I don't think he's an actual a-hole, but if I had to, like, you know, vote, I'm gonna say that, yeah, he's the a-hole in this situation. I think he needs to respect boundaries now that they're not together. He needs to detach himself from the plants that were once his, jointly his, and are no longer his. And that just comes with the breakup, buddy. Can't have your cake and eat it too, unfortunately. Reddit also voted that this person was the a-hole in the situation. But also, I should add, if you're seeing that your plants are just dying and someone's offering to help, just take it. I feel like you should just take it. Maybe it's a sensitive thing because it's her ex, you know, and maybe there's a little bit of a pride thing where it's like, oh, you think that I can't do it on my own? Yeah, sensitive subject, I guess. I bet if it was like a friend, it would be fine. Cause like when my Polydiflorum was doing nothing, I was more than happy when Alice offered to take it for me. I was like, yes, please help me. And now she's doing wonderful. Some of these some of these roots are not looking good, but lots and lots of nice healthy roots in here. So I'm just gonna, I don't know if I should like try and rip some of these roots off or if I should just leave it. Okay, fine. Maybe I'll remove the ones that are like clearly begging to be removed, and then I'll leave the rest. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 more plants to repot, so we'll see how many more we get through. Am I the a-hole for being upset about my plants? So I, 22 female, have a lot of plants. I've had them for years. They all have names and I'm very attached. There have been points where taking care of the plants helps my mental health. One of my plants is so big, the vines go across the walls and around the TV. His name is Wiz Khalifa. Get it? Khalifa? And I love him. He was one of my first plants. Anyway, when my roommate moved out, she was moving something and accidentally snapped 2 large vines. I was worried because I've never been good at propagating, but after 2 months of making sure the vines were in constant water, the roots looked great. I planned on planting in a month. Till today. I woke up to my boyfriend telling me my plant spilled, but he took care of it. This was at like 5 a.m. Fast forward to now, I went over to water the plants and noticed the vines knocked over with no water. I got really quiet and said, babe, you didn't put water in it. That was all I said, and he started yelling, what are you talking about? Yes, I did. He saw it and said, oh, I thought I put water in it. I broke down. I couldn't talk. I literally was so pale and could feel myself shaking. I had tried so hard, and I know it won't make it after several hours of no water. I wanted to cry. My boyfriend said, I'm sorry, but seriously, it's just a plant. I didn't say anything. I just laid down. My boyfriend was mad that I couldn't talk, said I care more about a plant more than him, and he won't talk to me. I wasn't mad at him. I'm just upset. Edit, I should have put this in the original post, but I forgot to. He sees me getting excited over my plants. He sees me water them and talk about how important they are. I honestly just assumed he knew how much they meant to me. Hell, I show him every time I get a new leaf. Edit number 2, he knew I wasn't upset with him, just with my plant dying. It had been without water for almost 12 hours. Am I the a-hole? So I think many of us by now know that, I feel like I'm so far from the camera, sorry guys. I feel like a lot of us by now know that water roots are not very forgiving. If you leave water roots out for any longer than like 20-30 minutes, those puppies are dry. There's no coming back from it. I mean, obviously give or take, it just depends on what the plant is, but in my experience, it's about, you have 20 minutes to get that puppy back into some water before those roots are toast. Soil roots, even pond roots to a certain extent, moss roots, are way more forgiving when taken out of their substrate, but water roots are just like very sort of time sensitive, like when you're repotting and transferring and stuff like that. But it kind of sounds like if he put the water roots back into the vessel and didn't leave it out, I almost feel like for 12 hours, they might have been okay. There might have been enough humidity in there to enclose enough water to like keep the roots hydrated. Of course, there's no photos. I'm not gonna make any assumptions about like, oh, the plant's fine. Like, let's just assume, let's take her word for it that, you know, those roots are dead. But I think the reaction was a little bit over the top, not gonna lie. I don't know, I feel kind of bad judging like what a proper response to something. Oh, there's a spider in here. It's obviously not my place to say what a proper reaction should be to something that obviously triggers someone or makes them upset, and it's not my place to say what someone should or shouldn't be upset about. That's not my point. I'm just saying I feel like knowing how kind of easy, I guess, it is to reroot something like, I'm guessing it's some kind of pothos or like trailing philodendron. Like, you know, you just stick that puppy back in water and it'll reroot. I think it would be different if like the whole plant had died, like in a fire, like it got scorched or something like that. Okay, yeah, I would be really upset. But we're talking about like just roots kind of drying out. And I think it's just more like annoying than anything. Like, I would be annoyed that he forgot to like put water back in the vessel. Like, he was that careless to just be like, oh, pick it back up, but I'm not gonna refill the water. But it really could have just been an oversight. Like, he didn't even think like, oh, I should probably put water back in. I don't understand how you don't kind of think like I should put it back in, but again, it was kind of early in the morning. I'm not here to justify his actions, okay? I personally feel like it's common sense. Like, he should have known to just put water back into the vessel. But I'm trying to think, if it were my husband, I would not have a reaction like that. I think it was a little bit much, but at the same time, I don't like how he minimized her feelings and kind of like made her feel like she was like crazy for being so upset. Like, nobody can tell you what to be upset or not upset about. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, I would never let anyone tell me like, oh, you shouldn't be upset about that. If I'm upset about it, I'm upset about it. And that's all there's to it, you know? So I didn't like how he was like, what did he say? He said like, you're overreacting, or like, you care about the plant more than me. This situation is not about you, buddy, okay? She's upset about the plant. It has nothing to do with how she feels about you in the relationship. She's just obviously upset about the situation, and I feel like in that moment, he should have just been nothing but apologetic, and I think all she was looking for was like the sympathy or just any consolation of just like, it's my fault, like, I'm sorry. But I don't know, I just think on both ends it was a little bit immature. I think that's the word I'm thinking of. I think it was handled immaturely on both ends. And again, it goes back to the fact that the whole plant didn't die. It was just the roots. It can be rerouted, and it's more of an annoying situation, if anything. But I don't know. Who's the a-hole in this situation? Reddit voted that the poster was the a-hole. Like, she overreacted, she's taking it way too seriously. I remember reading the comments and everyone was like, well, I'm guessing that you just have like a pothos or philodendron. Like, why can't you just stick it back in water and reroot it? Like, it's not like the plant died. And I think that's why she had to like edit the post so much, because she was trying to convey that it seemed like her boyfriend was just minimizing how much she actually cared for the plant by her saying, oh, but he knows like how much I love the plant, like I show him new leaves and stuff like that. So I think she's, as much as she says she's not upset with the boyfriend, I think she's upset with the boyfriend. I don't really think it's about the plant so much at this point, because she knows damn well it's gonna be rerouted. Like, you rooted it once, you can root it again. I think she's upset that, one, her boyfriend just didn't have the common sense to put water back into the vessel, and two, that he just wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, like it's all my fault. I think that's what she wanted. I think she wanted that sense of just like, you did something wrong, you need to be apologetic, and you need to like understand why I'm so upset. And when she didn't get that, it was just like minimizing her feelings, which is valid too. Like, I get it. I get both sides, but again, I just think it was handled immaturely on both parties. I'm just saying, like, if that ever happened in my house with my husband, because I could totally see him making that kind of like error in judgment, or just not having the common sense to be like, oh, maybe I should put water back in it. But I don't think that I would have the same reaction that I did with her, or did have the same reaction that she did. I think as long as I saw that he was apologetic and he said sorry, I mean, to me, that's enough. Like, what more can be done at that point? Like, what's done is done, right? As long as he's sorry, then yeah, that's just how it goes. It's a sucky situation for sure. And I don't want anyone to think that I'm here saying like, her feelings aren't valid. Her feelings are valid. You have every right to be upset. I need a new pump sprayer. This thing has like no pressure in it at all anymore. So yeah, in this situation, if I like had to choose, like you were gonna tickle me and I had to choose, gosh, it's so hard. Actually, this one is like probably the most difficult to make the decision of all the stories I've told so far. I want to say he's the a-hole. I don't know why. It's just so simple. Like, just like, if you messed up, dude, like, I don't remember if he said he's sorry, but like, obviously she's just looking for some sympathy, and like for you to just say that, to make it about you and say like you care more about a plant than me. It's like, it's not even about that. Like, can we not make it about you? That's the only reason why I'm saying he's the a-hole in the situation. But I think that she just blew it way out of proportion. So she's not at fault. But if I had to choose again, like, you were gonna tickle me if I didn't make a decision, yes, I would say that he's more of the a-hole in the situation than she is. So the next one that I'm gonna be working on is my Spiritus Sancti. Don't be alarmed by the nastiness of this leaf. So this is the product of using the spider mite spray, the 99, actually I didn't use 99%, I used 70% alcohol with the actually, hold on, go way back. This was before I used the Dr. Bronner, so it was just water and alcohol, and I sprayed it while it was an emergent leaf, and it just burned the hecky crap through it. So I don't recommend using such a strong undiluted spray, or like not a strongly diluted spray on an emergent leaf, especially not an anthurium. So I'm actually gonna chop this off because it kind of triggers my trypophobia a little bit, and I just don't like looking at it. So we'll say bye to her, but this one is in, I can't tell what this is. I think it's tree fern fiber and soil. I can't be 100% sure. But either way, I want to get it into something bigger, and I want to get it on a pole right away because I want to see some growth on this. My Spiritus is one that I have high hopes for in 2024. It's one that I want to see really glow up, and I need to like put the effort in. Let's move on to the next one. This one is, am I the a-hole for being upset my plant got ruined after I warned them not to put it there? There's like nothing coming out of this thing. It used to be so much stronger. This is just my tree fern fiber chopped up moss mix that I use for my poles. It's just so freaking dry right now. I need to hydrate it a little bit. Okay, so I have this Monstera plant I've had for, oh, I only have 8. What? I thought I had 13 for some reason. This is the last one. Something smells bad. Oh my God. I think it's the water. I wouldn't recommend even my worst enemy to smell that. I haven't cleaned this out in ages, and there is something brewing in there, and it's nasty. No wonder my tent smells bad. No wonder. No wonder. Because I watered everything with this sprayer a few days ago, and every time I walk by my tent, I just get the most rancid smell. You know what it smells like? It smells like spoiled milk. That is an awful smell. That smells so bad. I can't even. A little bit better, but now it's got alcohol in it, and I don't know what the repercussions of putting alcohol in this my moss pole substrate is, but oh my God, that stinks. It smells like spoiled milk. Please erase my memory. I'm still gonna use it because I'm not gonna waste it. The smell will eventually go away, I hope. But oh my gosh, this sprayer just needs to be like burned. I think it's time to retire this sprayer. I don't even remember what I put in it. Mystery, and you're crooked. Oh my gosh, okay, so I think, yeah, this will be the last plant I repot because one, I'm sickened. I'm absolutely sickened. And this is the last one. I don't know why I thought I had 13 stories. Am I crazy? Okay, anyway. I've had this Monstera plant, I have this Monstera plant for over 2 years now. I recently had kind of an upsetting breakup, and the plant is the only one of almost 100 that survived the relationship and is moving with me to my new place. We were originally going to take my brother, and he was gonna hold the plant. It's small on the base, but Monsteras have really thick leaves that don't bend, they just snap. I asked my dad if he'd hold it, and he said it would be fine in the back. I told him multiple times it wouldn't, and I was a lot more comfortable with someone actively holding it for the drive because it was over an hour and a half long. I got shut down and was told it would be fine and was worrying too much. I didn't have the space in my car, and it also wasn't secure there, or I would have taken it with me. Anyway, of course it got destroyed and there's barely any leaves left. I got really emotional and started crying and was told it was just a plant and he thought it would be fine, so I just had to deal with it. It got broken in a way where it can't regrow at all. I told him that I said it wouldn't work, and he didn't listen, and I felt extremely disrespected and was told, "What do you want, to shoot me to make you feel better?" I never got an apology or even a true acknowledgement of what happened. I understand it's just a plant and I shouldn't get emotional, but it's really meant a lot to me. My dad is extremely upset and is basically not talking to me besides to threaten to take my stuff and leave. Am I the a-hole? The smell of this, that's from another dimension, dude. Like, I should bottle that scent and patent it for people who like do pranks and stuff, like, you know, for fart spray. Like, this could be a legit fart spray smell. What the frick? Okay, anyway, one, I'm confused how a Monstera would break that it won't regrow at all, but that's just besides the point. That was just my initial like, what do you mean it won't grow back? So anywho, I feel like, one, the plant, just to play devil's advocate here, I feel like the plant should have been, if it wasn't gonna be held by the brother, which I know that was her first choice and she thought it would be best, but I also think asking someone to hold a plant for an hour-and-a-half drive, like a large monstera, is a little bit crazy. I would never ask someone that was helping me to move to do that for me. That's just a little bit weird and a little bit much. And like, it just could have easily be wrapped in like gift wrap, like wrapping paper, or like cardboard, like something, like, you know, you like wrap it the way that like stores would wrap big plants, right? Like there's just so many ways the plant could have been protected otherwise than having someone just hold it, like if that wasn't going to be the plan. So I do think that was like kind of bad planning on her part too, and just kind of like a weird expectation to expect someone to hold it for an hour-and-a-half in a car. That just doesn't seem very fun. But I think the reaction from the dad was like completely invalidating her feelings, not being apologetic, not admitting like, yeah, I guess you were right. But it's like, damn, if it was in the back, does that mean like, I guess in the back of the U-Haul, but like, I wonder how the heck was he driving that the monstera was just completely unsalvageable by the end of that journey. Like, that's just crazy to me. Yeah, I think the dad was being like such a meanie butt, like just not being really sympathetic for her at all, not admitting any fault, not, you know, just showing any kind of remorse when she's clearly upset, because I think that's all she was looking for at that point, was just some kind of remorse, or like even just like the smallest apology, like, oh yeah, my bad, you know. But now he's the one upset with her. I mean, I don't know what her reaction was off the bat. Like, I don't know if she yelled at him or like she said something that was like really rude, because I can tell you firsthand that like that kind of interaction has never gone well between me and my dad. We have not always been super close, and so if I and I think it's a cultural thing too with that generation, like if I said something that made him feel like he was at fault and like he owed me an apology, like the conversation probably would have gone the same, to be honest. These roots are not wonderful. I see some new roots, I see some roots that have rotted. It's kind of like 50-50 at this point. I don't love that there's moss in here, and I just emptied it into my soil. So I'm gonna be mixing, I think, a bit of tree fern fiber into this mixture, because it looks like it was just soil. Actually, no, it was a tree fern fiber mix. This is what it's looking like. It's not great, and you know why? Because I freaking let it dry out so many times. Gosh, I thought this was gonna be a straightforward repot, but now I'm having to question my reality. Okay, let me put together a little concoction. Hold on. This is the concoction I've come up with. I've done a bit of soil, of my soil mix. I added some tree fern fiber and perlite. I'm hoping this combination fixes things. Oh my god, it's so dusty. I think I'm gonna add some orchiata too. Why not? Here's what the mix is looking like. I'm not feeling great about it, but you know, what can we do at this point? So, okay, going back to that story, I think you kind of all see the side I'm leaning on here, and my gut is just saying that it was the dad who was the a-hole. I feel like this could have been prevented for sure, but that's hindsight's 2020, you know. There's nothing that anyone can do now to make the situation better. But yeah, going back to like my relationship with my dad, I feel like the same kind of interaction would go down. I don't know if he would be super apologetic. I don't know if he would validate my feelings, but that's just, again, just kind of the generation that they grew up in. Not to say that he hasn't been a lot more open-minded now. Like, he's changed a lot, but there are still aspects of him that are very reminiscent of how he was raised, the generations he grew up in, like all of that stuff. But anyway, without knowing her dad, I guess I can kind of see why things turned out the way they did, and she wasn't getting like the validation that she was looking for, or like the sympathy she was looking for. But at the same time, I kind of feel like you have to know your parent a little bit to not be really surprised by like their reaction to things. I don't like that this stem is bent. It's like crawling. It's like an L shape, which is awkward because I want the stem to touch the pole, but I can't without this stem poking out like that. Oh well. Okay, we're just gonna get it in. Again, that is what she said. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper again. Okay, I'm not gonna say it. So yeah, I think she was not the a-hole in the situation. I think it's certainly gonna be a learning lesson for her in the future, should she ever find herself in that position again. By the way, guys, Hugo's Amazing Tape, there have been a few people who've told me that it doesn't work for them. If it's any way dirty, like look at how dusty this is and dirty, it's not gonna stick. You have to completely clean it and then it'll stick. But yeah, I'm just gonna start with a new piece and then I'll wash that one off and get it clean and reuse it. But if it has any kind of residue on it at all, it's not gonna stick to itself. It's not magic, okay? It's just science. So anyway, guys, those were all of the Am I the A-holes? I kind of wish there were more, like there's not a ton. And I was thinking of like maybe asking like my own followers on Instagram if they have their own Am I the A-hole stories. But I think because it's not anonymous and they'll know that like, or all know that it comes from them, I think people would be reluctant to share. And that's, you know, I get it. I probably, whoa, that escaped me. There's another one coming. I probably would be reluctant to share as well. So I get it, but it would just be fun to have a little bit more options, because there were a few, like there's a lot of Am I the A-hole plant related ones, but like some of them are so like blatantly obvious, like who's the a-hole and who's not, that I was like, it's not even worth telling the story. I'd love to know your thoughts on each of the stories, if you agreed with me or didn't agree with me, or if you can provide some kind of rationale for the other party, if I like, you know, thought that, or if you disagreed with me. Again, these are my opinions. There's no reason to get hot and sweaty. Not hot and sweaty, that's the wrong, what's the word when you like pressed, hot and pressed and basically don't come for me if you disagree, because it's just my opinion. It's not like my opinion really matters in the grand scheme of things. This is all just for funsies. Anywho, I am nervous about this one. I will not lie to you, but I'm just gonna hope for the best because I really, really, really need this one to do well for me. Like, this is the one philodendron in my collection that I feel like I still have so much pent up, what's the word? Not anxiety, but like excitement for. Like, I feel like so many of my philodendron right now, like I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, okay, I could see like how well this is growing, and I've enjoyed some leaves that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I grew that. But this one, we haven't experienced it yet. We're not there yet. We're just a little teeny tiny thing. So everyone send this one off, wish it luck, and hopefully the next time I do like a real feature on it, it's got some more leaves and some more roots, just more everything. I don't even know what to do with this either. I'm feeling all kinds of emotions right now. Can't handle this emotionally. Okay, so anyway, you guys, that is gonna be it for me. I'm signing off here. Let me know your thoughts on some of these stories. I would be very interested to know what you think. What else? I hope everyone had a really, really good November. Happy December. I cannot believe we're here. I literally feel like we just celebrated New Year's and now we're going into 2024 soon. Like, it's wild. I literally, I don't know if it's just me. I know it's not just me because I spoke to someone at, like, I was getting a blood test done recently, and like she wrote 2024 on my paperwork, and then she was like, oh, I did it again. I keep thinking it's 2024. And I was like, dude, me too. Every time I see 2023 on something, I feel like it's wrong. There's been like 5 invoices that I've sent out like in the last few months where it was all 2024 and I had to correct it. And then also I made pancakes the other day and I saw on my syrup that it expired in December 2023. And I was like, okay, this has been expired for a year, but like it's syrup, like I'm pretty sure it's fine. And so I used it. And then all day I just made myself sick. I was just like, you know, in my head, I'm like, oh, I ate bad syrup. Now I have a stomach ache and I don't feel good. And then it wasn't until the next day where I was like, wait, it's not even expired yet, because I thought it was 2024. I don't know why. It just doesn't feel like 2023. Anyway, wow, that was a tangent. All that to say, happy December. Not sure. Actually, I do know what the schedule is looking like this month. I actually have every single upload day planned and it should be good. Lots of work for me to do this month. Hopefully I can get through it. But it should be an eventful month. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys again for watching another video. Thank you guys for being here with me on another Saturday upload. Don't forget to like it if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.